And a 5, a 6, a 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, y'all, welcome to the podcast. I'm Jade.
I'm Paul.
And this is Shall We Compare Thee, a remake and sequel podcast.
This is the podcast where we take movies. I can never remember this part. This is where we review and analyze movies and decide if they hold up to their modern and reimagined counterparts.
Yes, and only one can survive, and we are here to make that call. Paul, tell the folks what we're talking about today.
Today, we're talking about 2 of the 5 movies in the Indiana Jones franchise. We're going to be hitting 1981's original Raiders of the Lost Ark and the latest 2023's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Woohoo! Yes, we have a lot of movie artifacts to dig up today, and maybe a few to bury deep in the desert, never to be seen again by the light of day.
Probably.
Probably. Safe to say.
So we got all this stuff to do here, but before we do,
all the things.
Let's roll those trailers.
Crack that whip. Wacha. Whip it good. Looks. Whip it. You know you should.
I got my Devo shirt on just for the occasion. Let's see what this looks like.
I didn't even notice.
Come on.
For nearly 3,000 years, man has searched for the lost Ark of the Covenant.
The Bible speaks of the Ark leveling mountains and laying waste to entire regions. Not something to be taken lightly.
A dial that could change the course of history.
Why are you chasing the thing that drove your father crazy?
No one knows its secrets.
Jones, do you realize what the Ark is? It's a transmitter. It's a radio for speaking to God.
An army which carries the Ark before it is invincible.
Hitler made mistakes, and with this, I will correct them all.
You stole it.
Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
It is desired above all treasures on earth by those who are good,
Trust me.
and those who are evil.
I'll tell you everything.
Yes, I know you will.
This way!
Fasten your seatbelts. There might be some turbulence.
Oh my.
Oh my, indeed.
So thrilling. So much
Is
thrill.
it? So
Yeah.
let's pull back the curtain for just a moment. We were originally going to do Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes. We kind of lied.
And then, well, things happened.
Things happened.
Things
We didn't really
occurred.
lie. We had every intention to do Little Shop. We did.
There was no point for us to try to lie to you good people out there, but things happened. Tell the people what happened vis-a-vis Little Shop of Horrors.
Well, I was, waltzing through Times Square as I do, on my way to
I have the
rehearsal.
visual. I have
And
the visual
yes.
of that. Nice.
Jade with a spring in her step. And
Sorry.
and I go past a billboard, Little Shop of Horrors, coming, I think it's July 24th off Broadway. And I was like,
Yep.
I was like arrested in the middle of the street, and I'm like screaming at this billboard, what? No way. And people are like, okay. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to get that look.
It's a musical, everybody. Calm down. Calm down.
Yeah.
But we had been talking about me coming out to New York and
Just hours before, listeners,
like-
mere hours before.
Yeah. These
It was
these
crazy.
It is crazy. But so now we are pushing that off so that when I can come out to New York, probably sometime this fall, we're going to snag a couple of tickets and we're going to review the original, the movie musical, and the Broadway show, the Broadway
exciting.
revival.
And
I
then
know, this is
Paul and I
very
will
bucket list
podcast.
for me.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
We will
Like sitting
podcast.
across from each other
It'll be so
or
fun.
next to each other or something.
Yeah.
It's I don't
However
even know,
we decide.
I don't even know how that works, but we're gonna make it work.
I know. I've never podcasted in the same room with someone before. It will be thrilling. And you listeners will be right there with your front row seats to the Jade and Paul show. It'll be an extravaganza. So I'm really excited for that.
The other thing that happened is we read the reviews for Dial of Destiny, and we had fear that this movie was going to go away and not be on demand until sometime this fall, and we'd have to put this off for a while. So we wanted to get this in before it went bye-bye from the theaters.
Yeah, you could call them reviews or you could call them eviscerations, whichever you prefer, because this is it's not being well received. And we were just afraid that they're about to get the hook and get this baby off stage and pull it out of theaters.
Now, the one thing that'll probably keep it in theaters, and I was doing a little research on Box Office Mojo, this movie cost, do you know how much this movie cost, Dial of Destiny?
$300 million, is that it?
Yeah.
Just about.
Before marketing, that's just production cost.
Oof.
It has now made about 249 million worldwide. So my guess is they're going to try to keep it in theaters long enough to make back the original budget cost and then ship it off to VOD. But right now, the on-demand schedule is sometime September. So we wanted to go and see it before it is. And we both went to a movie theater.
We went to a movie theater.
Guys, I have not been to a movie theater since 2019. Is that right? Something like
and
that.
I can't remember the last time I was in a movie theater since I moved to New York in 2008, which makes me feel very old to say that's how long I've lived here. I really started going to movies way less. I've never enjoyed going to a movie theater. It was kind of the thing to do as a teenager. It was like the place you go when you're underage to get into like clubs and stuff. So, you go to the movies on a Saturday night. So that's my recollection of movie theaters is like early 2000s. And then after that, when I moved to New York, I mean, all my money goes to going to see shows, that's my thing. And I gotta say, when I got into a movie theater and I'm like, wow, I'm here. I sent Paul like a selfie of me. I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I felt so silly. And like, I don't know why I felt silly, but it was just like, I don't do this, And then very quickly, I remembered why I don't do this, because I missed the good first 3 minutes of the film because there were people coming in late, standing right in front of me with their phones. Where's our seat? Now they have assigned seating. I don't understand this. I don't like this. The whole point of, okay, can I just say, hold on one second. Let me hop up on my soapbox.
Please. This is actually what I'm here for. This is more than these movies. These movies are whatever, but I am here for the Jade experience at the movies. Please.
First of all, PSA, get to the movie theater on time. Okay, I am late to everything. I am always late. I have the worst time management skills ever. There are two things that I am never late to. It is when I am supposed to be on stage. Never late for that, always early. And the second one is when I am supposed to be in the audience. Never, I will not go. I will not go into the theater if I need to go in late. It is like, it's just theater etiquette. It is ingrained in me as a theater kid. You don't do it. You don't, certainly not. This is why I love going to see, theatrical performances, because there are people outside the door to make sure that you do not go in late. They will not, there's no late admittance a lot of the time. And I've learned that the hard way, showing up to Broadway shows late, and they're like, yep, no, we're not opening the door for you. Or no, Broadway shows they will, because they, it's a big enough theater and they have like designated times when you're allowed to come in late. But a lot of times off Broadway, the theater will be small enough where any entrance will be such a distraction that they will just say, no, like, we will not let you in. The Roundabout is very strict about that. They refuse to let you in if you're late. So yeah, you don't do it. You don't show up late. So, but at a movie theater, you can show up whenever the heck you want, waltz right in. People are whipping out their phones, trying to see the seat numbers, flashlights everywhere, because now there's assigned seating and you have to sit in your assigned seat. Who the fuck thought this was a good idea? Because the point of movie theaters that I remember is you go in, you sit down, and then when someone comes in and they're annoying as hell, you're like, oh, I got to move over one seat, or I got to go down to that other aisle. Like, and you pick a time when you can kind of sneak around and like, everyone in the theater kind of like figures out their own little seating situation. Now we're like tied down to these tickets that say you have to sit in this certain seat, and people get angry if you don't. It's a whole big thing. I just don't. Am I alone here? I don't know. What do you think of the assigned seating thing?
I don't think you're alone. I don't mind the assigned seating. I went to a matinee, and
Yeah, so did
I got the assigned seating because that was just what they have now.
Yeah.
But there was only maybe 15 people in the theater. So there was nobody sitting in front of me. There was nobody walking by me. And I get to the movies, my story. I get to the movies early because I want to get my popcorn. I want to get my refreshments. I want to sit down in the seat. I want to see all the trailers. I want the whole, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go and get the whole shebang. I want to see like same thing with concerts. If I'm going to go, I'm going to get there early because I want to see the first band, the second band, the third band, whatever. I want the whole experience. I don't do this very often. So when I do, I want it all.
Yeah. Right.
And
I was so upset that these people, and I finally said to them, what are you doing? Turn off your flashlight. And the guy goes, I'm trying to sit down. I'm like, then sit the fuck down. And he goes, are you from California, bitch? And I go, what does that have to do with it? I'm
Wow.
like, no, I'm from New York and you're pissing me off. And finally I
Wow.
just got up and I walked all the way down to the front and I sat at the front, when not like the front cluster of seats, but you know how you have like that front cluster and then you have like a wide aisle and then you have like the back bleacher kind of section. I sat in
Yeah.
like the very, very front. So there was no seats in front of me and I was able to kind of stretch my legs out and that was lovely. So I was like hoping that no one had the seat reserved and luckily no one did. So
I love the fact that you live in New York, but they figured the person that's speaking up is from California.
I know. I'm like, that is the randomest thing that he could have said. It was so funny.
That's from somebody who's never been to California. That's yeah. They're a little more laid back than that down in SoCal.
Yeah.
Well, did you so you got there, you sit down, you finally get past everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying like you didn't grow up liking this experience. Is that right? You didn't really grow up liking the
something
movies.
about a movie theater just never like it's surprising. It's not the same for me as like live. You know what I think it is? Like I think that it's because I am very verbal, right? It's shocking, right?
I
never could have guessed.
That's a new one. That's a new one on me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a lot of like loud reactions to things. And in a live theater, it's okay to do that. You're encouraged almost. It's almost like the audience is, as an actor myself, I love hearing an audience react to me when I'm on stage. The laughter, the oh, like that kind of stuff. It's like you're in communion with the audience. And the more of those kind of verbal cues that you get from the audience, the better it makes your performance. But in a movie theater, I always feel a little hesitant to let myself react loudly like I want to. But I gotta say, I was kind of pleasantly surprised at how many other people were loud reactors. And so now that I've had this experience in the movie theater, I left kind of thinking to myself, I would like to do this again. I would like to see more new releases in theaters. It also did something that it really forced me to pay attention because I knew I could not rewind, and I knew that like this is my podcast responsibility. I need to remember everything, and like I had my phone to take notes on, and obviously the screen was like dimmed very, very low, and I was not sitting around. I wasn't, distracting by taking out my phone and taking notes. It was difficult to do, and I only did it when I knew it was okay to look down. Being an action film, you can kind of get the sense of like, okay, now I can just listen, and I don't have, it's just people talking. So as long as I'm hearing what they're saying, I don't always have to like stare at the screen. So I would take my notes then. But yeah, it was a heightened experience that impacted me in a very particular way. with this film that I enjoyed in a movie theater that I couldn't have gotten seeing the film at home. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but tell me about your experience seeing this in theaters for the first time since 2019.
First of all, just Cinemark Cinemas in Tacoma, Washington. Hi. We are in Washington State, home of Starbucks. Why don't you have coffee? Why don't you have coffee? All I wanted was a medium popcorn and a coffee.
No soda for you?
No soda for me. But coffee all day, every day. So there was that. I also got the feeling from getting there early and watching the trailers that our podcast is going to be on until the end of time, because every trailer was a
fucking
sequel
remake.
or a remake. Every sequel, except for Oppenheimer, which is the only one, but everything else. And you probably saw some of the same trailers because they're all Disney related properties now. The new Mission Impossible, for some reason they're making another Haunted Mansion movie.
I didn't see that trailer, and I think I got there just a hair late. I did see a bunch of trailers, but I didn't see that one. That must have been the first one that they played, and that was the one you wanted me to see, and I'm so pissed I missed it.
It's like you've already made a movie about a ride, and now you're making a movie about the ride. I don't get it. And then there was a trailer for My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3.
Yeah.
Which is how I learned that there was My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2.
I had totally forgotten that happened.
I don't know what else there is to say about that story. I think Mamma Mia has sort of taken over that Greek romance thing, and I'm not sure, but nice to see Nia Vardalos. Always like her on screen.
Yeah.
And nice to give Joey Fatone some work.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I mean, I was in a small town going to the movies. There was like 3 things to do when you were a minor. You went bowling.
Yes.
You went to the video arcade, or you went to the movies. And when we talk about Raiders, 1981, 12-year-old Paul, this is like the first year that I'm really allowed to go to the movies, like with my friends, without my parents. My parents aren't huge moviegoers. They love movies, but they're much more stay at home, watch it on VHS or what we had, picture disc.
No way. You had
picture disc, not laser disc. Picture disc was vinyl, and you had to turn it over.
That's
like a
so
record
awesome.
halfway through. So that was their way, and I loved it because that was where I got all my old movies. Watched a lot of Hitchcock that way. Everything old we got on picture disc. But that was the first year in 1981, and all those movies from 1981, Time Bandits and Superman 2 and For Your Eyes Only and Arthur and this one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, they are imprinted on me until the end of time. I think I went to those movies multiple times, and this one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I know I saw at least 5 or 6 times in the movie theater. Anytime somebody said, "Hey, we're going to the movies, we're going to go see Raiders," it's one of the few movies that I've done that with, and it's probably only because I was 12 and wanted something to do. Plus, I really liked the movie. So,
oh my gosh, to see this film to see Raiders in theaters.
Nobody knew,
I wish so hard. I wish
when nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew what it was going to be. I was not a Star Wars kid. I didn't see Star Wars until I was in college. I was just not into that. But Raiders was the first like real event movie that I saw where you just didn't know what it was going to be about. I mean, they'd run trailers on TV and stuff like that, but you just didn't really know. And Harrison Ford was a known property at that point, but he wasn't like Harrison Ford is now. He was still the guy who was playing Han Solo. So it was I will remember that experience. It's going to be hard to be objective because I've had that sort of, I think you developed a sort of like the sort of Stockholm syndrome that you get with these movies that you see at a certain age where you're like, I don't even know if that's good, but boy, that reminds me of being a kid, and I'm going to love it anyway.
Yeah. No, I get it. And I still Although, okay, so listeners, action adventure stuff is just not my thing. I have
Not her jam.
I don't see these movies. I've never seen a James Bond movie. I know I'm missing out too. I know I need to fix this. I will now. I will
Okay.
fix that. I will watch some James Bond. We will absolutely have a James Bond podcast. It's happening. I want it to happen. Truly.
I think I just won life. This is great. This is
Yeah,
great.
no, I'm excited for
Yeah.
our James Bond podcast. I truly am.
Okay.
Because the oh my God, actor James Bond. I'm sorry, I'm the worst with names.
Which one?
The OG James Bond.
Sean Connery.
Is it Sean Connery?
Very first James Bond was Sean Connery.
Oh, wait, cut this out because I'm going to sound like an idiot, truly. But who what's his name? Seriously, cut this out, Paul. Do not keep this in. I do not want to. I do not want to sound like an idiot.
I'm gonna snip this out and just keep it on my own little thing, and I'll just watch it every once in a while. It's fine.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. It's not weird.
You can do that. It's just for your eyes only.
Exactly.
No, but who is it? Who's the guy in Knives?
It's a great Bond movie, by the way, For Your Eyes Only.
Really?
Yeah, that
Did
was
I
the
just
same.
do that?
That was the same one that came out the year that Raiders came out, For Your Eyes Only.
Oh my God.
Good job.
See, okay, I know nothing about, well, lucky job. No, but who is the guy who was in Knives Out?
Oh, Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig, thank you.
He's
an amazing actor.
He was the latest one. He was the latest one.
Right.
And those movies, the Casino Royale to the last one he did, No Time to Die, that is a great set of movies. Very modern. It has a little bit of an arc to them, which the other ones really don't. The other ones are very much like just single movies, and they don't really have any sort of connecting story. But the Casino Royale run is really fun. Casino Royale is a remake, and the original is like Peter Sellers, Woody Allen, Peter O'Toole.
Oh,
crazy
that one
movie.
That needs to go on the list.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
that movie is like 5 different directors. They didn't know what they were doing, and it made a ton of money. And we definitely have to do that.
I've heard a lot about it. So yeah, no, okay, back to my point. I don't watch these kinds of movies. No James Bond for me. I've never seen a Jackie Chan. And I did not think that I had ever seen a Indiana Jones. Lord, my brain.
Sure.
What year did Last Crusade come out?
89.
I saw Last Crusade in theaters on a re-release, or I can't remember if it was, I don't think it was a re-release, but it was like a old school movie theater that my dad and I would go to see movies in. So, okay.
Fun.
I get myself in the gear to watch Indiana Jones. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. We have to do this podcast. Here I go. I'm like not expecting to like it. I'm actually totally thinking in my mind, I know I'm not going to like this. I got to figure out how to podcast on it. What am I going to say? I was in a very stressed out place in life because I had a lot of things going on at that particular couple of day stretch when I watched it. And I was not focused at all. I was tired. I was like, so I watched it and I'm just like, that was such a blur of just fighting and people chasing and and I'm like, this is not for me. I can't pay attention. My eyes are glazing over. Oh my God, I have things to do. It was like a bad moment for me to watch this film, right?
Yeah.
So then something happened where I was supposed to be really, really busy all day. I think it was Saturday. When did I see this? 2 days ago. What day is today? Tuesday. This was Saturday.
Tuesday.
I think this was Saturday. And no, this was Sunday. I was supposed to be really busy all day Sunday. And then something happened where I was given a day. I was given a free day that I needed so very badly. Oh my God, did I need that free day? It was like a snow day, right? Everything fell apart and all of my responsibilities had to be postponed because the other people had something happen. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get my ducks in a row. I'm going to do all my busy work. I'm going to do my grocery shopping. I'm going to handle my shit. And then I still have time to spare. And I'm going to go see Indiana Jones in theaters. So I'm feeling all kinds of relaxed because I just checked off everything on my list. And I'm like, all right, biking to the theater. It started raining a little bit. And I'm like, I don't care, whatever. I am chill. I go into the theater. I had my little fucking experience with the guys who were annoying me. And then it settles in, right? And I was like, like I said, I remembered the good things about seeing a movie in theaters. It's all in your face. It's so all encompassing. It's a huge screen. It's the sound all around. I mean, it's an experience, man. And it's how a movie is meant to be seen, is in a theater. The sound is designed for theatrical settings. It's just never as good when you're watching it at home. So I'm watching it and I'm getting all kinds of joy vibes. And it's all because it's the setting. It's all the way it's meant to be. And I got to tell you, I got out of that theater so jazzed to go home and watch the original again, watch Raiders. And I got home, I got myself a bowl of my favorite delicious cereal, feeling super nostalgic, right? I sit down, I press play, and then I remembered something. I remembered Paul sent me an email with a link to a black and white version, which I want Paul to explain, a black and white version of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I started watching it, and it has all the sound taken out. And I'll let Paul explain this, and I started watching it, and I was like, oh wow, this is something. Wow, listeners, seriously, this Raiders of the Lost Ark is meant to be watched in black and white. It is so beautiful. The high contrast lighting that is happening, the staging, holy schmagoli. This film really needs to be in black and white. I mean, really. So then I did something cool, and I'm like, okay, I want to start it from the beginning, have my rewatch in black and white. So I started watching it on Disney Plus on my phone, and I turned the volume way up on my phone and connected it to my speakers. And then I synced it up. I synced it up with the black and white, and that's how I did my rewatch. And all the chef's kisses.
Yeah.
I was watching an entirely different movie. I was focused. I was in. I mean, I was in, man.
Yeah.
I am a fan. I am a huge fan of Indiana fucking Jones. Okay. Like oh my God, I can't, I'm going to start freaking out because like, I love this movie so much. It's like, it's going on my top 10 favorite films of all time. It is like, it is so good. It's truly a masterpiece. If there ever was one.
Everybody home listening to this right now needs to know that not just a few days ago, she was like, I don't know what I'm going to have to say. I don't know. This isn't.
I was like, this is a mistake. This is a mistake to podcast on this.
We need to change course. And it's like, well, let's just do it. And let's just, we were going to do the 5, and it's like, let's just do the 2. We'll just make it easy, and then we'll have some fun. And I was like, if you don't like it, it's fine. If you don't like it, it's not.
And I didn't like it. At first, when I watched it in that, I was feeling some kind of way, man. I was tired. I was unfocused. I was stressed in my life. I was not watching the film at all. I was totally somewhere else. I don't even know what I was doing. But after seeing Dial of Destiny in theaters, and we'll get to how I feel about Dial of Destiny, it whetted my appetite for Indiana Jones. And all the credit is to Harrison Ford. I was like, there's something magical with, if for no other reason, the audience's reactions were so loud and so yahoo, yippee. Like people were so jazzed in the theater. It was a very loud theater. And I was like, this is so beloved. This is a thing, and even though so many people have said all of the problems with Dial of Destiny, there's something about it that is so special to people just because of the original trilogy. It's masterful. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just so happy that you had, I'm happy that I don't need validation for the movies that I love, but I'm happy that you had a good time and enjoyed yourself. And
I had a life-changing experience.
I was just going to say, if you had just stayed at that level, it would have been fine. But the fact that it has risen that far up is just, my old little heart is just warm inside right now. I'm like the Grinch. It grew 3 sizes today. It's so great.
Paul's Grinchy heart.
Yes.
And I had forgotten that I saw The Last Crusade with my dad, and I only remembered it because as soon as Raiders was over, I was like, well, I know Paul's favorite is Last Crusade, so I did skip the second one, the Tomb of, what is it,
Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom. I did have to skip that one because I didn't have time to watch it, but I wanted to see Paul's favorite. And then as soon as I watched it, I was like, I knew I remembered that feeling of being in the theater. I could not stop thinking about my dad. And there's another thing I got to say about my dad. So I've mentioned my dad before on this podcast, and I mentioned like meeting my biological father for the first time recently. So when I say my dad, I mean the guy who raised me, not my biological father. But I had like kind of a life.
I'm the same way.
Right. Yeah. We have this same dad thing. And I gotta say, there's like I have this like Lifetime movie kind of experience in my life where it's like a Lifetime. It sounds like it's a plot line out of a Lifetime movie. I believed that this guy who raised me was my father. He's my sister's father. And I thought that he was my father. And he thought that he was my father until I was 27. And my mama was like, things happened, whatever. There was a lot going on in my life. And my mama was like, oh, by the way, he's not your real father. This guy is.
Wow.
And I was like, I kind of always knew it. But wow, you couldn't have told me sooner. So anyway, the point is, but I had all of the joy that I do remember from my childhood, although I remember very little of my childhood. All of the joy that I have, those memories, are with my dad. He was a great dad. He was such a good dad. He was so playful. He was so funny. He was so like a big kid, you know, and he has a huge affection for Clint Eastwood. And that's my action movie references. All of my references are coming from Clint Eastwood movies because I would watch them with my dad. And he had like since a child, he wanted to be the Clint Eastwood in, you know, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, for a few dollars more, a fistful of dollars for a few dollars more, which we should also do a podcast on.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah,
I need to talk about how I love Lee Van Cleef like so much, but I gotta show you.
All right. I am totally in for that. That's amazing.
Yes.
We are learning a lot on this show.
Yes.
All right. So this is my dad.
Oh.
See that jacket, that leather jacket? Look familiar, guys.
Wow.
Now wait, it gets better. It gets better. See this hat?
Oh.
This is my dad. This is my dad, guys. Wait, it gets better. It gets better. He like really and I didn't know because I just didn't remember seeing Last Crusade until as I was going to say, I didn't remember seeing Last Crusade until after Raiders was over, and I was like, okay, I want to see Paul's favorite Indiana Jones, and so I skipped the second one, went right to the third, and I remembered, oh my god, yes, I did see this in theaters when it was re-released because if it came out in 89, I think it must have been, I was around like 10 or 11 years old. And I remembered realizing in that moment that it's not just Clint Eastwood that my dad wanted to be. He wants to be Indiana Jones because everything about this guy, he's just such a, like, he's so, like, into life, you know, like he taught himself how to play guitar. He would climb mountains. He was on baseball teams and football teams, and he was always making jokes and you know, he would shoot guns. He would do like any kind of like contest he could get into. He was just like adventure guy, you know, so playful, so into games, so anyway, he passed away. So Dad, I'm going to try to get through this podcast without crying. This podcast is for you. I miss him so much. And
by the way, while you still have the screen, can we go back to that picture of him in the hard rock tank top for just a second?
Yeah.
Where is that? I want to see that one more time. There it is. Yeah, this is if the Dial of Destiny put him about 1996. It's like, I still got the hat, but you know what? I got to go to the Hard Rock every once in a while.
Yeah.
Why
that's
not?
That's us climbing a mountain in Maine. We would always vacation in Maine.
Jade, this is just gorgeous. Thank you so much for sharing this.
When I think of my dad in my mind's eye, this is the image that I see, you know.
Of course.
I see the leather jacket, the hat, that's his Dodge, his 47 Dodge. This was how he went around town. This was like his look, you know?
By the way,
That he does not look like he's in a costume. He looks like
this is his
stuff. Yeah. He wears it well. He wears it well.
Yeah.
Well.
And I gotta tell you, when I watched Last Crusade, it's such a father-son film, and it's got that like father, Sean Connery, just like, stop it right now. I mean, I was bawling last night watching that is an understatement. Like, that film had me so weepy because I miss my dad so much. I mean, it's like, but when I was watching him in that like worn leather jacket, that brown leather, I was just like, oh my God, that's my dad's jacket. Like, that exact jacket and that hat, like, that's my dad. Like,
okay. So it's crazy for me. This watching these films has done something to me. It has like opened my eyes to a genre of film that I never even thought was like, I just never allowed it as a possibility that I might like this. I never gave it a chance. And now, having had the experience I've had, I don't know how all of a sudden I can go from like zero nostalgia toward, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then I feel that it's so close to my heart now that I'll as soon as I saw it in black and white and I did my rewatch, I immediately had such a different feeling for Dial of Destiny. Because after Dial of Destiny, I was like, yeah, okay. This is okay. I'm enjoying, and all I could think was, I can't wait to go home and watch the first one again, because I know there's something there. It's got to be good. It's got to be better than what I thought it was. And sure as shit, it was. And then I started to see Dial in a whole nother light. So yeah, please, Paul, like, cut so much of that down so that I don't sound like a crazy person, please, because I'm very
there's nothing crazy about what you just said.
Everything that I'm doing right now, like, I'm fighting myself crying right now. Like, I'm really fighting it. And like, I don't want to be like sharing all of this, but I know it's like good to share. And I know that it's like, you're enjoying listening to this. And I'm trying to tell myself that like, this is not stupid. And like, this will be interesting to someone out there to listen to. So just like, but seriously, like, don't make me sound like a crazy person, because I've been going on and on and like talking about my dad. And like, when I start to talk about my dad, there's a lot of like trauma and weird stuff like surrounding me and my dad. And when he died, we were estranged. Like, we hadn't spoken for over 7 years when he died. And there's just a lot, so now that I'm speaking about him, like, I do it so rarely that like, I've all of a sudden lost the ability to tell like how I have no sense of myself anymore in reality. Like, I feel very weird right now and I feel very vulnerable. Thank you for creating the space where I feel safe enough to do this.
It's
but just know
it is absolutely my pleasure. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
Yeah. I'll take the screen back. Do you have anything else you wanted to share? Or are you
well, there's one other thing that I wanted to share.
Okay.
So, okay, I'll start it again. So there's before we go into our comparison review, there's one other thing I wanted to share that I found very fascinating. So like I said, I don't watch these action movies, but I did watch. My dad and I he is the person who gave me a huge love of classic films, old school films. And his favorites were the Clint Eastwood films, but we would always watch like old, MGM musicals. And like, he's the reason that I'm so obsessed with Judy Garland. And we literally watched every Judy Garland film together. And, so classic films were like our thing, and no one else really like got us in that way. My sister was never that interested. So I was shocked to realize that Raiders is based on another film directed by Jerry Hopper called Secret of the Incas. Have you seen this film?
I have not.
So I'll read the blurb about it. It's an adventure film. It's a 1954 adventure film starring Charlton Heston.
Sure.
As adventurer Harry Steele on the trail of an ancient Incan artifact. Yeah, Harry Steele.
Oh my God.
Steele. Yes.
Absolutely real name, Harry Steele.
Harry Steele.
Certainly not fictional character.
Certainly not.
I've enjoyed the trip.
If you're wondering how you're going to pay me without hurting my feelings, Miss Morris, forget it. Just take out your roll and start counting.
You're not exactly timid, are you?
Not about money. Money sings, and I love music.
Most men don't enjoy taking money from women.
That's the best kind. It's the hardest to get. It always smells so good.
And look at that chick's face. She's just like, hi, 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 hi. Like she just had an orgasm, you know? And then here it goes again. Wait, here it goes again.
You're a big one. Is guiding people fun?
That depends where they want to go.
I wouldn't want to miss anything.
I'll see what I can do.
Hope I'm not getting sick. I can hardly breathe.
That's the altitude. We're more than 2 miles above sea level here, you know. You have to take it slow and easy.
That's the way I like it.
You'll enjoy Cusco.
We'll go to the hotel first and get cleaned up. We'll see you there, Mr.
Call me Harry.
What?
Where will you be if we suddenly want something?
Right outside your door.
Wonderful service.
Never had any complaints. Al hotel.
Darling, I think you'd better take a nap when we get to the hotel. A long nap.
And then here it goes one more time.
Está Morgan aquí?
Si, senor.
Look, don't start giving me a bad time. I'm here for a reason. You can either change your clothes and come along with me or start walking back. That way.
I have the right to ask questions.
Sure. Only don't do it. It annoys me.
This movie is true. It's gold, you guys. It's gold. I would love to do just like a little, like have both of us just watch it real quick, and then without taking notes, without doing anything, maybe we could even watch it like to get like, you know, in
maybe
that in real, and then just do a quick like, you know, extra special like 30-minute little discussion podcast on this film, because just having Indiana Jones like fresh in our minds, this film is such a treat, and it is such a tragedy that it is not more well known. But yeah, it's so much the same. It's like they're on this hunt for this gold in jewel encrusted thing, you know. It's great. It's a good little time.
Well, this is the era that Lucas and Spielberg are going to the movies, and these are the movies that they're loving too. I mean, this is
right. Yes,
very much this movie, and I know they talk about Gunga Din a lot, the Cary Grant movie, as an inspiration for wanting to do an Indiana Jones type of that sort of bounder of adventure sort of guy. So yeah, I mean, I think they're getting. There's no doubt that a lot of that inspiration came from that film, from so many others that they probably saw in the theaters when they were kids, and that just again we developed these movies because we were kids and they're magical, and like you were saying, you're in the movie theater and everything's around you and everybody's like it's consuming, and unlike theater where it's like, well, I can see that that's a person on stage. There's this sort of barrier there because this has all happened in the past. This is all something that's not happening right this second, but we're tricked into thinking it's happening right this second. So there's a magic trick that happens in theater for sure. There's a different magic trick that happens in the movies.
Yes, but magic nonetheless.
Yes, and Spielberg, especially early Spielberg, may have been one of the better magicians out there. He really knew, I was thinking about our first podcast with talking about Hitchcock and Psycho, and he was certainly a magician. I think Spielberg's a magician in a different way, and I think he's lost a little bit of that magic over the years, but his early stuff is just, I mean, we'll drop the link for the black and white version in there, but it's worth watching. God. It's worth watching just to see the angles, the shadows, the light, the moods that are set. I mean, you could watch it without sound. It's a silent movie. It's a silent movie, and
what is the music?
Exactly what's happening.
What is the music that they put in?
They use the temp track from the Reznor score for Social Network, and I think something else. So it's the score doesn't really help. You'd be better off just watching it silent.
or like sync it up with the sound like I did. It was
I think I
so
might
cool.
I think I might do that. I might do that because
It's
you're
so
right.
enjoyable.
I mean, as much as the color version is great,
No.
when I saw little clips of the black and white, it's like, oh, you're just highlighting what the art is.
You're
taking
it.
away all that stuff, and it's all art at that point. It's just all
you see it in a whole different way. It is truly a piece of art. Douglas Slocum, is that his name? I mean,
yeah.
What a genius this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's so captivating. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And the editing as well. What's his name? Michael Kahn was the editor. It's just and yeah, all of this mixed with the direction by Spielberg, it's just like a dance. It's like a beautiful choreographed dance. The choreography of the way that the camera moves with the actors, I mean, it's just something to marvel at.
Yeah.
You just don't see this. It's truly lightning in a bottle, this film. It truly is. Every scene is like, I don't understand how they were able to, and I feel like so much of it is luck. They lucked, and that's what makes it magic. It's like Psycho. We were talking about like how much of this was Hitchcock's intention. I think a lot of it just kind of happened because the right actors, the right people working in the right places, everyone doing their job, doing it so well. It's just like a perfect example of an ensemble of people coming together to create something at the height of their powers, or just at the very beginning of the height of their powers. So they didn't even know how good they were.
Right, because Lucas and Spielberg at the moment that they are talking about this movie is right before Star Wars comes out. They're in Hawaii. They're a little afraid of these movies that are coming out. At that point, they're only 2 movies into their careers. Lucas is 34 years old before when Star Wars comes out, and he's only done 2 other movies. He's done THX 1138, which is a sci-fi movie, and he's done American Graffiti, which was a pretty big movie at the time. And then Steven Spielberg has only made 2 movies up to this point too. He's made Sugarland Express with Goldie Hawn, modest hit, and then he makes Jaws. And like Psycho changed the movie industry, Jaws changes the movie industry. It makes so much money. It starts the whole summer blockbuster thing, which wasn't a thing until Jaws. So, and he's 31 in 1977. So these are 2 young upstarts who are making lots of money, but they are in Hawaii in May of 1977, worried that their next movies are going to bomb. They're worried that Star Wars is going to bomb. They're worried that Close Encounters of the Third Kind is going to bomb. So they're talking now about making this other movie called The Adventures of Indiana Smith. I mean, we'll work on the name.
Yeah.
But they start going back and forth, and Spielberg talks about his love for James Bond and wants to do that sort of character. And they both loved, like you said, those old movies in the 50s, the serials that would play between the features that were like Adventurers and Alan Quatermain and The Lost City of Gold and all these sort of adventures. And they want to do something like that. I mean, Star Wars was supposed to be Flash Gordon. It was supposed to be Flash Gordon, because that's the stuff that George Lucas really loved, but he couldn't get the rights to it. So he wrote his own Flash Gordon.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And my grandpa's name was Gordon, and he's obsessed with Flash Gordon. So I remember that always being on in the background of my childhood. And only recently have I rewatched a little bit of Flash Gordon for something else that I had to do a while ago. And I was like, oh my God, this shit is actually really kind of good. Oh, it's for Poker Face. I went back to, there was some reference that made me think I should rewatch some Flash Gordon and see what that's all about. And getting into like Columbo and stuff, because I would watch it with my grandparents. But yeah, God, these classic things that I just never thought were my thing that's something I've really found podcasting on film ever since I started doing this, film and television, is just that stuff that I always said, oh, that's not my thing. It kind of might be my thing. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, quality might be your thing.
Yeah, quality, right? Who'd guessed?
If it's a good musical, if it's a good rom-com, if it's a real good, like, vulgar comedy, if it's good, it's good. You know, I'm not a big horror movie fan, but if it's a good horror movie, it's great.
Yeah.
You know, and same things with these action movies, is that when they're done well, they're, you know, I'm excited to see the next Mission Impossible movie because they do action very, very well. They do action kind of in the same way that Raiders and the first 3 movies in this run are made. Lots of practical effects, lots of practical stunts. There's, you know, CGI isn't even really a thing at this point. I mean, little bits and pieces of that sort of stuff are in like Ghostbusters and things like that. But for the most part, CGI isn't really a thing. So they're doing everything practically. Everything is in camera.
Oh, it's so good because
because
no
then
CGI.
you feel the weight of it. You feel the weight of it. You feel the danger of it. One of my favorite moments in Raiders, and by the way, just so we're clear, Raiders is my favorite Indiana Jones movie.
Okay.
After that, definitely Last Crusade. Definitely Last Crusade is second. And then we'll figure out where Dial of Destiny sits. But one of my favorite moments in the way they established this character of Indiana Jones, you know, from the back, you know, just giving him that big hero entrance and then undercutting it when he fucks up, when he doesn't have the right amount of sand, when he's like, everything goes wrong after that moment. And of course, then Belloc is there. Paul Freeman. What a villain. What a villain. Those eyes. And I love the fact they set him up as like, he's almost the better archaeologist, kind of. So he comes out of the thing. The boulders almost got him. Belloc's now won, and he's running towards that plane.
Yes.
If this is a James Bond movie, when he grabs the vine, you would hear the ba-da, ba-da, da-da-da, and he would swing onto the plane, maybe even onto the wing as it's taking off, and it'd be this big heroic moment. This is the first point where we hear John Williams' indie fanfare, the ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba. But instead, he goes maybe about 10 feet into the water and still has to swim to the plane. This is this hero. This is not the hero that lands in the plane. This is the hero that lands sort of near the plane, but still has more work to do. This is and just the amount of luck this guy has.
The amount of luck, right?
Oh,
and that's
God.
what I love about him, because he and that's why every scene kept bringing up, oh my God, my dad, because I remember watching my dad do these like hero things as a kid, but I was always aware he's just a guy. He's just your average Joe. He's just my dad, and my dad's my hero. You know, that's how Indy feels. He's just a guy. He's not this magical perfect kind of studly, like can make no mistakes and everything is smooth. He's not smooth at all. He is so the opposite of smooth, and it makes him so lovable. Right away, you love this guy, because when he's yelling at his friend, he's like, "Start the plane," and his friend's like, "But I really want to. But I think I caught something on my fishing pole." It's like so funny. This is so fucking hilarious. Oh my God!
You are getting so much character through action in this movie.
Yes,
that is like every action filmmaker needs to study something like this, because getting character through action is both very difficult, but also very easy if that's what you're planning to do. There are moments in Dial of Destiny where it doesn't quite work. There's a scene in Dial of Destiny where he's on a tuk-tuk and Phoebe Waller-Bridge is on a tuk-tuk.
Oh, the tuk-tuk. Oh,
and they're going back and forth. And they have this argument of like, he's yelling at her like, you know, what would your dad think of what you're doing? And she's like, "Oh, do you mean how I turned out so beautiful and resourceful and self-sufficient?" It's fine dialogue. I don't care about the dialogue, but this isn't the time to have that conversation. because there's people like shooting you and you're in these little tuk-tuk things. The motivation should be get out of there, not to have this little banter moment. This is not your Hepburn Grant moment. This is the time
Thank you.
to get moving.
Yeah, that was my first big eye.
Moving.
That move that well, I don't know if it was my first big eye roll, but that was a big eye roll for me, the moment that you're discussing right now.
Yeah, that was, and that again, it's like knowing when to have those moments. I mean, you could have had that moment at the end of the chase. The chase is going to end. We know you two are going to survive. That conversation can happen in a quieter moment. It does not have to happen while you're trying to save your own lives. It's not the time.
There's just a lot of layers of suspension of disbelief that film is asking of me.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like, you know,
couple too many.
You've got your disbelief up here and you've got the rope holding it. But you're only so strong. You're only so strong. And eventually you're just gonna be like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And that's exactly the way that a lot of people I've heard describe it, is that they got to a point where they're just like, you know what? I just can't. I throw up my hands and I jut out my hip. What are we? What? and it's their over it moment, right? Like, I'm just over it with this film, you know, just let it go. Is it over yet?
I want to ask about, you know, going back to the cold opens that happen, you know, the Raiders cold open with him going into the temple. You got Alfred Molina. You got,
Alfred Molina. I mean,
God,
he is so good. And like the small time that he has, the moment when Indiana does the thing where
when he's like,
weighs the sandbags. Yes. And he does this little hand gesture. It's so good.
Yeah.
And it's got me on the edge of my seat because I am Alfred, right? In that moment, like he's being the surrogate audience member and we're all feeling that, like, come on, baby, come on. You can do it. You can do it. And it's so cute too, because Indiana gets it wrong, you know, like he doesn't know what he's doing. He looks at the thing and he's like, okay, oh no, I think I should take out a little bit of sand. And it's like, you shouldn't have taken out the little bit of sand. You might have made it, you know.
You're probably right the first time.
You're probably right the first time, yeah.
That's what hit me when I rewatched Raiders, is how many like child's games they're playing in that first one. I mean, it's like you're in the forest and you've got the map and you've got you got the booby trap that's there, and this is basically the game to get to the idol is don't step on the crack.
You know what it is?
Step on a crack.
Peter fucking Pan and the Lost Boys. It's the game that they're playing. It's the sap on the tree.
Right there.
It's the poison. It's the Indians. They're after us. They're on our heels. They're hot on the trail, you know?
You read my mind. That is exactly, you know, when we were talking about action movies and you were like, I don't know. And it's like, but Peter Pan's kind of an action movie, you know?
I mean, didn't realize it.
It's a different kind of an action movie, but it's in that sort of, it is delivering some of those thrills.
Yeah.
And
it's little kids playing at being Indiana Jones is what it is. I mean,
my brother and my dad, who are also both gone, we used to go camping. It's my biological dad. We used to go camping, and if we got up early enough in the morning, the fog would be coming through the trees and the light would be coming through the fog, and we'd just play. I don't even think we were playing Indiana Jones. I think we were just playing adventurers, and we would like find the branch that we can swing across something and do. I mean, it's just kids playing. And that was something that was really missing in Dial of Destiny, partly because the fact that even if you de-age him all you want, he's an 80-year-old man, you know?
And the de-aging was the voice.
Yeah.
The voice was the thing that really took me out of it. Like his teeth, you could see it, and the way he moved his body was so slow. Like when he turns his head, he doesn't do it like he does it like and his whole body kind of goes. The shoulders go too, you know. Like he can't just whip your neck like crack, you know. so it just every time that I was like, oh, I'm in it. This is young. Oh no, but but he's old. And then that became like a little bit of a distraction. I wasn't too distracted by it. A lot of people are coming down hard on that. I think it was fine.
It didn't kill it. It didn't kill it. I mean, that's not, I mean, once I've kind of bought into it, I mean, we've seen the de-aging stuff that's going to happen more and more, everybody. And it's coming. It's all coming.
I have a question for you though.
Already there. Yes.
Did it bother you that they shoehorned that Toby Jones character? Because it didn't bother me, because again, I got no skin in this game. I have no background with Indiana Jones, and at the time when I saw Dial, I had no affection in my heart for Raiders yet, because I hadn't done my rewatch. So it didn't bother me that and I wasn't even really aware of it until later when I realized, oh, Toby Jones character was just kind of inserted like at the very beginning, like, so he has this best friend, right? And best friend, like they're really, really close, and just all you gotta know is like BFF really hardcore. There you go. And hey, if you gotta do that, if you gotta shoehorn someone in, I mean, you had me at Toby Jones. Like you bring in the Jones, you're killing it. I mean, Toby, he's so fucking good at everything he does. He's just such a delight. I mean, he was selling the shit out of that character. But did it bother you, the shoehorning?
No. I mean, this is again, as you're getting into the action movie genre, and especially if you get into the James Bond genre, every James Bond movie has one of those cold opens. Sometimes they're connected to, most of the time they're connected to the story. Sometimes they're not. They're just a different adventure you're seeing him on before we get to the film. And they usually, for the James Bond movies, they'll roll the cold open and then they'll go to the theme song and the credits, and then the movie will continue. And it's kind of nice to have that break. But you know what Raiders does so well, and I think Dial of Destiny does it just fine. I thought it went on a little too long. I think
too long.
There was like one too many I gotta pretend I'm a Nazi moments that probably could have been cut out. I mean, we could have
pretend I'm a Nazi.
we could have cut to the chase a little bit sooner.
Or, maybe cut down the chase a little sooner, because those chase scenes, woo, they're like the tuck just went on. I was looking at my watch. I was like, can this be? And that's it's because I am not a fan of, you start chasing things, you start blowing things up, and I'm telling you guys, my eyes are glazing over. Like I cannot follow that kind of shit. That's never going to change for me. I'm never going to be in love with a chase scene unless you're talking Raiders of the Lost. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I can't tell you how much I love this film. Like every scene is just the perfect amount of length. It's flawless. It's a fucking flawless movie. I gotta say it. I can't. My hands are tied. There's nothing I can do here. It's fucking flawless.
Let me just
it's so good.
I just got to go through this for a second.
And for me to say that I enjoy an action sequence, like guys, for those of you who don't know me, that is insane. Okay, this is an insane occurrence that is occurring. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
No problem. I just have to go through this because, if you want to know why they're striking in Hollywood right now, let me tell you why.
Yeah, there are reasons.
1981 Raiders budget. $18 million, makes $389 million worldwide. Temple of Doom, $28 million, makes $330 million worldwide. Crusade, Last Crusade, $48 million, starting to get a little bit bigger, but that makes $474 million worldwide. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, not great. $185 million budget, but it makes $790 million worldwide.
Ooh, so that was the greatest flop in history.
So they're making their money.
They're making money.
And now, so if you're making a $295 million, and this is beyond whether it's a good movie or not. This is beyond that. You're spending $295 million on a movie that you could make for 20. If you did it all practically, if you did it with those kind of things, if you cut it down, I mean, Dial of Destiny is at least 40 minutes longer than Raiders, at least. And you cut some of that stuff out, and you don't need. I mean, don't pay Antonio Banderas if he's only going to be in the movie for about 4 lines of dialogue.
Yeah,
I was kind of
a
like,
miss.
I was like, I'm okay. This is cool. I love it. Antonio Banderas. Let's see what you got. Oh, you're dead now. Okay.
You know what they're thinking?
Why were you in this movie?
Because they want to get the butts in the seats. That's why. And you throw his name up there on the marquee, and it's going to bring butts into seats. And it's really unfortunate because guess what, Disney? There's a snag in your plan. People are the first wave of people who see that and go, what the fuck? Antonio Banderas barely used. What the fuck? Toby Jones so underused. What the fuck? Karen Allen barely fucking in this shit. Guys, guess what? There's don't waste your money, and then people are gonna not waste their money. That's what's going to happen. So your plan kind of sucks. Stop casting these actors if you're not going to use them. What the fuck? And I wouldn't be so mad at the CGI in this film if I didn't know that it just cost so much money and it adds less than nothing. It adds negative things. It literally takes away. I mean, what makes Hitchcock so great, what makes Raiders of the Lost Ark so great is the lack. It's that, I mean, it is that grain of film, right? It's that it's that texture, it's that warm glow we're talking about when we were referring to the 2003 Peter Pan. It's that warm, yellowy hue that it's got emanating from it. It's like, it's just glowing, and it's got this wonder. And this CGI bullshit, it looks plasticky, it looks weird, it's constantly drawing my attention, and it's constantly reminding me, oh yeah, I'm watching a movie. Oh yeah, that's not really happening. Oh yeah, that's fake. Oh yeah, that's fake. And because I feel like I don't want to be duped as a person, like, you go to see a magic show and you're compelled to look for the trick, it's the same thing now when you go to the movies. You're, like you said, the magic is gone when we are so fully aware none of this is real. It's all magic, and it's, oh, trick. Oh, I found the trick. Oh, trick. And then you become a trick spotter instead of a movie enjoyer.
The action should be real. You're gonna warm my heart if you can make real action, and you're gonna save some goddamn money.
I just think that there comes a point, it's the Tim Burton effect, where you're given so much of everything that you don't have to push yourself to be creative anymore. So much genius comes out of lack.
Yeah.
We don't got it. We don't got it in the budge. How are we going to do it? We got to get creative, guys. There's a reason that like is a saying, let's think outside the box. There's a reason that's a thing, because
I can't
that's when the magic happens.
Yeah. I can't remember who said it. It was that genius is a plan, no money, and no time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. I mean, $18 million, which is $66 million today, adjusted for inflation, but that's still not a lot of money, to make a big budget action film, fly everybody to Tunisia, and build sets in England and all this sort of stuff. That's not a ton of money, and yet they make it work, and they make it work really well. And hats off to both Spielberg and Lucas, who's shepherding this whole thing through. Lucas always gets sort of a bad rap because people like, oh, the prequels of the Star Wars, but the guy made 2 indelible, unforgettable franchises that people love. Name somebody else who's done that.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas has done that, and just out of his brain. I mean, sure, he was inspired by the movies he saw as a kid, but Star Wars he makes up out of whole cloth. And same thing with Indiana Jones, and that's pretty impressive. He's not the greatest. He's not the greatest director, and I never want to hear any of his dialogue again. But as a creative mind of putting these stories together, he's pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yeah, newsflash, Lucas is pretty good.
Yeah.
Spielberg is even better.
I mean, okay, Spielberg always has this thing for me, though, where I find it difficult to follow when a lot of things get happening at once. It's always my thing with Spielberg. It's like I was saying, I think when we talked about Hook, I think I mentioned it. If I didn't, I should have. The way that everything kind of always feels a little cluttered. I think that Indiana Jones, however, the Raiders, it's so there's none of that. I'm following it. I am following action sequences. How is this happening? Jade Anderson over here, this girl following, remembering the plot as things are blowing up and exploding and people are jumping here and there. Yes, I'm with it. I am with it. And I don't think that's ever, like I'm telling you, this Raiders of the Lost Ark is not normal. It is a freak occurrence that has never before and will never happen again. It is a perfect film. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's perfect. It's perfect in the way that Wizard of Oz is fucking perfect to me. And that film is my favorite film ever of all time. And it is because it is 100% perfect. Raiders is like so close to that perfection, that amount of every scene